From the heart of Maine, this is the DuView podcast.
All right, and welcome to this week's episode of the DuView podcast. As always, I am your host, Du, and joining me this week is a very special guest, the only roommate of mine from college who we haven't heard from yet on the podcast, the one and only Mr. John Pony Rolleri. Pony, John, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on, dude. Thank you for making the trip up.
Yeah, no problem.
Because as far as all the roommates go, you live the furthest away.
Yep, 4 hours away to be exact.
Oh, jeez. Hey, it's worth it, though. You know, anything's worth getting out of Massachusetts.
Oh, my God, yeah. As much as I love this state, coming up here and just being able to relax by the coast for a few hours as I was, like, just driving up casually.
Yeah, you were telling me about your drive up, and that's what I love about you, Pony. You always take the time to, like, stop and smell the flowers for the most part. Like, as much of a professional and, like, a stressed pro as you are a lot of times, and I've seen you at your best and your worst. Same, you can say the same about me, but as much as you're like, you know, very always stressing about school and different things like that, you always take the time to, you know, stop and smell the flowers, whatever, you know, whatever that ends up looking like.
You kind of have to, though.
I
just
agree.
To relax.
No, I completely agree. And like that was cool hearing you come up and being able to enjoy the Maine coastline and really all the things that make Maine really kind of a, you know, a special place. And that's part of the reason why I'm here and I have the podcast, not only just because I was born here, but because, you know, like I said, Maine's a special place, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And in the
Maine
opinion,
and New Hampshire, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, Maine won, New Hampshire too. But, you know, I'm only biased here. So, you know, like as we said, Pony, you know, you're not from Maine, but you have spent some time in Maine. You have enjoyed Maine. So you're basically from Rhode Island, more or less. Lived in Massachusetts, but, like, I mean, you're that far south. So have you spent much time, you know, other than your ride up today, have you spent much time previously in the state?
Yeah, I've been to Bar Harbor once.
Of course. Yep.
And then I went to Booth Bay twice, once on a family vacation.
Nice.
And then once was actually to photography, take pictures of Jimmy's proposal.
That's right, yes. As I've said before on here, the voice of the DuView podcast, other than me, the voice of our intro, rather, Mr. James Talalis, who is... we love dearly, and him and his wife Christina. Shout out to them, and also, you know, shout out. We'll talk about your photography a little bit later, but also shout out to Pony's photography. But we'll get to that. So other than that, just, you know, a couple trips here and there.
Yeah,
and, you know.
just to kind of just like casually drive up and just mainly in the southern part of the state.
Yeah.
But
well, like you said,
relaxing.
it's 4 hours for you, and you can then drive another 4 hours to get to the Maine Canada border, like where my camp is or where my family's camp is. So it's a big
massive.
state.
Yeah,
we're the biggest state in New England. So I mean, like, to drive, you basically covered all of New England with the exception of Vermont and Connecticut, and, you know, I mean, you're basically in Rhode Island as is. So
dude, Rhode Island, like, Maine is such a different animal because Rhode Island,
we really are. Yeah,
I could drive from one corner of the state to the bottom corner of the state, the longest route, and it would take me an hour to get across the entire state. Like, that's Rhode Island.
That's what makes Maine Maine. I mean, it's you know, or same thing kind of with New Hampshire. It's anything as close as within an hour. You know, it's like you say, oh, that's New Hampshire close. Like I remember doing that when I was working or when we'd be in college. You know, like, oh, that's New Hampshire close or that's Maine close. It's an hour or, you know, whatever away. And on the flip side, we have our friends like Jimbo, who lived in Boston, and everything was like, you guys drive everywhere. It's like, you don't.
We literally just talked about that.
Yeah.
He was like, I hate Boston. I hate driving in this city. And I'm like, dude, what else would you do?
Right.
Like, from New Hampshire to the city. He was like, I'll take a bus. I'm like, why?
I would never. I hate buses.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they play a vital purpose and everything like that, but to be honest with you, I don't like being on a Greyhound any more than I have to be, frankly.
Yeah, like, I would take a train if they have one, a commuter rail train, but a bus to me just sounds miserable.
Yeah, I mean, you can't bribe me with an in-flight movie. You can't bribe me with, like, you know, peanuts or snacks. I don't know. It's like, I've taken the bus before when traveling. I guess a quick sidebar, you know, coming back from whether it be Europe or wherever it may be, and, like, sometimes you get lucky and you make the bus, and sometimes your flight is late and you miss the bus. So, like I said, the survey's still kind of out on that one, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. It's just like one of them things.
Yeah.
You know, but That being said, do you have like a favorite spot in the state that you've kind of identified? I know you said you spent a lot. I guess kind of the coast is kind of your bread and butter of the time you've spent in the state. But do you have a spot that really like stands out to you about Maine? You're like, wow, this is really, this is kind of my place.
I mean, if I had to really choose between like Boothbay and Bar Harbor right now, it'd mainly be Bar Harbor because I feel like I want to go back there.
Of course.
Because it was a family vacation. We had an Airbnb, and I would love to just actually camp there.
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. And I mean, that's very, very doable. There's plenty of camping between the actual national park campgrounds and other stuff too. It's a great spot, especially if you go like as much as like the national park. The big stuff there is really cool. There were some really like unknown areas and less traveled areas, I guess, the path less traveled of the very popular area. Because like I said, like some of the mountains I've talked about on here before, like the Beehive Mountain, which is inside the park right next to the sand beach, is, you have lines going up it now.
Yeah.
You have to wait in line to like go up the hill. And like, I got a problem with that. But I agree with you though. That area is great. And honestly, dude, if you explore that area outside of the main tourism times, you can still have a very good experience and just have less crowding.
Yeah, that's what I saw on like YouTube because I would love to go. Yeah, like you said, when there's not as much tourism. That was the nice thing about my family vacation.
That's the only, I guess, and I understand that Maine needs tourists. Like, I understand they're very vital to our economy, but like, I wish we weren't so attached at the hip to just tourism, And it's like, it's great and all, but it's like at the same time, it's like, well, you have to share your. I guess that's part of the problem being an only child. You got to share what you have for 4 or 5 months out of the year, and I guess I just don't want to do that.
Well, it's more the lines that come with it.
Oh yeah. Well, that and I mean in the big problem, I'm not a problem, or like in any restaurant right now is having a hard time being fully staffed and everything like that. And I mean, not to get into the wages and everything like that, but it's like. Well, that's a big part of it. Is like going out to eat is kind of a chore now in certain areas and at certain times, and like that's been one of the downsides. There's a lot of great places down there. Don't get me wrong, but like it's like any type of place you go to, it feels like, man, this is almost like a chore at some.
Most people would want to do like what is that, Grubhub?
Yeah, or like something like that. Yeah.
Get it to go, come back to their own house. Which that's great.
Yeah, like DoorDash and that stuff. It's expensive though.
Yes, yeah. I started doing that in Boston.
It's all fun and games until you look at your credit card the next day and you're like, wow, I just spent $40 getting McDonald's. That's usually like $13.
Yeah. No, $8 for me.
Oh
at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm just making something up, but I mean, I know I've heard of people doing that. It's like, I mean, it's for more than one person, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's like. Man, it can get pricey, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Though.
Yeah.
But as someone who's, come into the state and saw some things, like what areas, if you could explore, anywhere in Maine, where would you go next? If you just hopped in your car and started driving, what would be your, would you head, where would you go?
Honestly, just into the woods.
Yeah.
I'm a person that I've never actually been camping as much as I want to, but I love hiking.
Right.
So if I can just go grab a cabin, like off of Airbnb and just hike in the woods for a while.
That's like half the state. So you're
like that stuff.
That's good.
It's like stuff that I can die for at this point in my life, and that's why I'm trying to slow down my life as much as possible. As
much as one can, right?
Yeah, and that's why I really like hiking because it slows me down. I can reconnect with the earth as much as possible, which is great for the state of Maine because you don't have all the traffic that I have in Massachusetts.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's true, but. Like Massachusetts, there's not many hiking trails. You can go out to the Berkshires, but even that gets very touristy now. A lot of people are trying to escape into the Berkshires to try and not leave the state of Massachusetts, but also have a nice...
But still not be in the metropolitan race of it. Yeah, no, that's tough.
And then same thing with New Hampshire. Like me, Jimmy, Christine, and some other friends, we went to Flume Gorge during the peak of foliage season.
Yeah.
And there were so many
Were you just tripping over people?
The entire time.
Yeah, that's...
The entire time.
Go up to Aroostook County. You won't have that problem.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Seriously, that's why I love going up to my aunt and uncle's camp up on Eagle Lake. Like I said, it's 4.5 hours from here, 4 hours from here. But you know what? Yeah. If you don't want to see nobody, you don't have to.
And that's where Airbnb becomes such a big
And you know
role for
what?
me.
We've been very lucky. And I mean, I know last time I talked about you on the podcast, buddy, I gave you, I rode you a little bit more for the bedrooms thing. But like, honestly, you did a great job with that. And you do find some quality Airbnbs out there. And honestly, like, I'm torn on the whole idea of Airbnb because like I want Airbnb, but I don't want like Airbnb like in my area, if that makes sense. Just because like it affects housing and things like that pretty heavily. And as someone who's in the process of trying to acquire housing, it's like, man, this does not make things any easier for the rest of us.
That's the thing. I was reading a few articles because in New Hampshire, towns were restricting Airbnbs.
And I think that's like anything. Problem. Like you don't want to have a million anythings in one town. Yeah. Like I look at some of these towns and like, don't get me wrong, all for, recreational, medical marijuana. But like you go to some of these towns and it's like your whole town is like a dispensary.
Yeah.
Like every other building is a dispensary.
Yeah.
Like within the allotted like distance, it'd be like, if like they didn't have like a distance requirement on casinos, they'd have nothing but, slot machines up and down the street if they could in certain places.
Yeah.
It's just you do need to put a limit on, and I think that is smart. Is to, yes, you want people to come from away, but you also want to make sure there's enough housing for your permanent residents too.
Yes.
So,
or even like restrict companies from buying these properties.
Yes.
There's so many like realtor companies that
Pony,
buy these houses.
We could have a whole episode on just that, buddy. That's no, seriously. And I mean, like I've talked about that with some of our other buddies from school, and just in general, like it's like you have like I can't remember of course I can't remember the name of the big firm that's been buying, but during COVID they bought up like a lot. I can't, and it's killing me. That's why I need to have somebody to come in here and just like Google stuff for me or remind me of things because it's just that
it's
like
too much.
It is too much. But no, seriously, it's like you have these like big outfits that just come up and buy everything up, and it's like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna start redeeming, insert company name here, bucks, so that we can spend at their store. Or whatever it is, it's like, wow, is this like we're working in the coal mines again, and we have to spend everything we have at the company store? Like, it's like, man, like I know I'm dramatizing things a little bit, but some days I feel that's where we're headed. It's
not far off with Amazon,
dude. That's what. Seriously,
I love Amazon,
you know what?
but
I am that's the convenience of it is nice, but you know what? I understand it's
going too far now. To be honest,
like, and I mean, like. Jeff Bezos, smart dude, capable dude, everything like that. Nothing wrong with that, but just pay taxes. I just want him to pay taxes. I don't know. I don't think that's anything too crazy to to ask. It's just like, hey, we could pave the streets with gold if Amazon paid taxes. Just about. Tell me I'm wrong. It's like, oh man.
Definitely not. Especially with their pharmacy move that they
that's one of the things I was going to bring up. They have their liquor license via Whole Foods. Yep. They have their pharmacy. They have everything.
They do.
They have it, and they have the Washington Post because Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Oh, Amazon has a hand in everything you do.
Yeah.
The media you consume, and I'm not trying to sound like a nut or anything like that, but like the literally things you put in your body, the things you have in your house. They listen. I mean, they're listening to you all the time. If you have an Alexa or an Amazon, like I have the.
Siri.
I mean, I have. Yeah, I mean, like same thing. Sorry, iPhone. Sorry, Apple. But like, even with that, being said, it's just like, and I guess again that could be a whole episode on its own. I even have like one of them Amazon TVs, and like I have the microphone shut off. But just because I have a slider,
dude, our microwave. In college was an Amazon one. We could have, if we set up the app properly.
Yeah, we had an Alexa-enabled microwave. We could have said, Alexa, start cooking my peas or something like that.
At a specific time also.
At a specific time. Like, we were just lucky the school's internet it wasn't compatible for it because we definitely would have done it.
We would have. Oh, my God, yeah. We tried.
Yeah, we tried it. We tried hooking it up.
Yeah.
But, it's just like one of those, and that's, I guess, a good segue here too, buddy, is that we met in college. Like, as I said at the beginning of the episode, Pony is the last of the roommates, or John rather is the last of the roommates to come on the podcast, and not by design or anything like that. It's just really kind of how it happened. When you have a certain slate of people, it's just got to put numbers. And
distance to proximity also.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's it. That's it too. Part of it is just like it's like. Trying to find time for everybody and everything, and I mean that goes well beyond the podcast. That's good life, thing there too. But we met in college, and we actually met very early on. That's the kind of the cool thing I can say with most of my really close friends, we all met very early on. And, like, for you and I, it took us a couple of years to really kind of, like, hit it off. But, like, that attests to just change in time and how you weren't the same person when you started at St. A's where you were 2 years into St. A's.
Far from it.
Far from it. You know, dude, like, would we have lived together freshman or sophomore year? Probably not. But junior year and beyond, of course. Because you know what?
Dude, I thought you were an asshole when I first
I don't
met
blame you. And that's, like, where we're going to go. Because, you know, we met because we both played Ultimate Frisbee.
Yes.
And same thing with our buddy Jeff. You know, like, we all played Ultimate Frisbee together. And, I mean, unlike Jeff and I had some classes together, but, you know, Pony and I had very very little interaction with each other outside of, you know, that Frisbee thing to begin with. And the Frisbee team had, again, sorry to put anybody on blast, but we had little, you know, get-together fires on Friday nights out in the woods safely. All right, if anybody from St. A's campus is listening, safely. But anyway, and everybody knew there were fires out there. There were ones that were a lot worse than ours and a lot more dangerous. Like one where people literally fell into the fire pit. Like, and a girl that I had class with got 3rd-degree burns.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or like 2nd-degree burns. Yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, we had a very safe and good time. But I come out to this first Frisbee fire, and there's no fire. And I'm like, what is going on? And I see this tall, scrawny kid trying to in the fire pit, trying to like start the fire, and I'm like,
dude,
being an Eagle Scout, you know, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, safe to say, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't start the fire. Get after it. Come on. And so I was heckling you, and to come to find out, this poor guy, poor Pony, I mean, may or may not have
already had a few beers.
Few beers, you know. So, you know, and we're freshmen, you know, it's like we're very little experience. You know, again, I can only speak to myself. I did not. College was the first time I really lived it up. Let's put it that way. You know, I think we're in the same boat there in a lot of regards. So that being said, though, I'm chirping Pony. I'm literally, if there was another one of me, I would have been the hecklers from the Muppets sitting up in the balcony going, "Hey, how about you figure it out, you fucking idiot!"
And then I try to chirp you, and
then
you
try to chirp me, and then I turn the just slam it back at him. And so that went on for a little while, and then I told him to get out, and I started the fire.
Yes. Okay, so my point of view, I come in before Ryan.
Yep, you were there long before me.
No one started the fire.
He did all the prep work.
Pre-gaming with my brother, and Dominic Hall.
Yep.
Sorry, St. A's, if you're listening. But yeah, no one wanted to start the fire. No one knew how, apparently. So I'm like,
I mean,
all right,
like everybody's
I know how.
from Massachusetts.
I'm from Massachusetts. I know.
Yeah, but you're
not
not your average masshole either, though.
No, I'm not. I got to live in the woods, so to speak, of Massachusetts.
I mean, like you've done some stuff.
Yeah, but I went to go start the fire. Nothing was working properly. Also, was a few beers deep, so I'm not really thinking properly. But then I noticed one of the logs fell over. So we had this massive fire pit for absolutely no reason. So I'm like, you know what? I would have done this sober, but I'm going to do it now anyway. I get inside the fire pit to go fix the logs so that the very small fire that was going, doesn't go out. And then in comes Ryan and starts chirping me.
Couldn't have been any more unfortunate timing for you, bud.
No, I know. And then, he took over, got a nice big fire by the time everyone else showed up.
By the time, the majority of people showed up, took credit. That's just like, oh, man. It's like that scene in Tropic Thunder. It's, at the end where Tom Cruise and Bill Hader's character are like, Tom Cruise is in the fat suit.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, go out and take credit at all the parties. But remember, a nutless monkey could do your job.
Oh,
Pony, we've had so many moments like that, and I was actually funny. I was talking to Jimbo the other day, and I was kind of I was like, I hadn't thought about this, and I mean, I've seen the movie The Big Lebowski several times. Okay. But there have been several moments throughout our friendship where it's kind of like Donnie, and then like the big guy there,
I don't know this movie, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, I'm drawing I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. That's awful.
I feel like,
but anyway, case in point, he's like, "Shut up, Donnie! You're out of your depth." Like there's been some great, it's like, "Shut up, Pony! You don't know what you're like." We've had some great, but it's like, and people are going to listen to this. Oh my God, you guys are terrible to Ryan. You were terrible to him, and he's terrible to you. No, we actually have a very fantastic friendship.
Yes.
And like that's what like. Pony and I just chirp each other. It's just what we do. I mean, I think that's kind of a guy thing anyway. Yeah. But like, we very much just like chirp each other.
I think it's a
like,
guy's thing from if you grew up in athletics.
Like and we both did. We both very much.
My friends in high school, we always chirped each other.
Yeah.
then I
same
met
here.
Jimmy,
Same with my friends.
and I
from
tried
home.
chirping Jimmy a few times, and then he was just staring at me. He's like, "Dude, what the hell are you saying?"
Yeah, he didn't do sports.
He didn't get it, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry. Like, I thought I offended you, my man.
No,
I'm sorry."
Yeah,
But-
right. No.
And then he finally got the hang of it with me and you.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Even Lucas grew up in sports. So
Yeah,
and
he knew. Yeah.
He knew what was
Oh,
going
that
on.
kid
yeah.
can chirp.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, dude. I've been out with him, and I'm like, yo, you might want to be quiet. We're gonna get in trouble. For someone who's very much peace and love, the guy can throw some words around.
Dude, I've seen him up in uppers. He needs to get ready.
Yeah.
Too. Like, he is ready. Me, you, Lucas, even Jimmy.
Yeah.
When like that one time in senior year with the one dude that like.
Oh, that was we were alumni. That wasn't
Yeah.
even okay. So this is actually kind of a funny story. There was no violence had, but we just intimidated somebody.
Yes,
to be fair.
mostly you, to be honest. But literally,
the smallest guy is the most intimidating.
So
I don't
I'm
understand.
off to the side,
Yeah, Pony,
away
go
from
ahead and
everyone.
set the story up.
And
for us.
then I turn around because I can see something going on with Jimmy out of the corner of my eye. So I see this dude too close to our friend Haley. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy just like straight like pushes him away.
And like Jim is not a violent dude, so for him to do any type of physical like action, like and then I saw Jim push the guy, and so that's where I came.
Yeah.
I came hauling across the courtyard. We're
I
outside.
did too. I came from like the other corner. The people I was talking to, I'm like, "Excuse me for a second."
I did the same thing. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, I need to go take care of something. Excuse me for a second. And that person stayed there and waited for me to finish my conversation, and then come back. But it was like I locked eye contact with you, and then also with Lucas. It was like, imagine if like I'm over here, Pony's over here, and Lucas is over here, and this is all happening in kind of like this middle area. We kind of came in on the guy like a T.
Yeah.
And like he was like
formed a line
yeah,
too,
and it was like,
protecting
what are you doing? Who are you? Who let you in here? Like we're outside, by the way.
I loved
it was
his friend. I'm just standing behind Ryan, just like watching
Yeah,
this
I'm
dude.
just like-
And then this kid's friend comes over, he looks at Ryan, and I'm like, "Oh, please start something." And then he sees me. And then he grabs his friend, turns around, and then I turn around, I see Lucas, and I see Jimmy also
they're just
ready.
like they're standing there, arms crossed, just like bulked up, like puffed out. I'm like, yep, this is gonna go down. So, we've lived together for 2.5, 3 years now. We know each other real well, and we're also all have each other's backs, like we have on several occasions. So that being said, hey.
Oh my God.
But nothing happened.
No,
we were intimidating enough that nothing happened.
Yeah.
Honestly,
kid's
thank
friend was
God.
smart.
Thank God. Like, how bad would that have looked? You're alumni and you came back to campus.
We would have had a good story though.
It would have. It's a
And
great,
we would
it's
have
a
had
great
Haley
story
to
on its
protect
own.
us.
That's true.
St. A's values the women that are on their campus a lot, so we had.
I'm not
going
to
to
touch
back
that
her.
one, but they do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But she
moving
could have
on,
backed us up, and we would have been perfectly fine.
Yep.
At least
No,
that's how it goes in my head.
I
It's
agree.
like,
I don't disagree. That's
Yeah.
true. Well, no, we were just like standing up for a friend. Like the guy came over and like put his head on her shoulder and like, was being real touchy feely, and we're like, no, back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on telling that story, but I'm glad we did because you know what? I do look back on that night very fondly.
Same.
Oh man, but I mean, like I said, and I mean, I even have this in my podcast notes. We've had some of the best times, the four of us and the rest of the folks that were associated with us, when we were in college. And I think back fondly. I mean, like, you guys got me in at the Chapel Arts Center. I know I ended up all four, and to also, qualify, all four of us worked the same work study job at the Chapel Arts Center. Shout out to Father Ian.
Yep.
He was a fantastic boss, fantastic mentor, fantastic all-around guy. Very knowledgeable, and and that's the thing I love about St. A's. I know I've talked about like there are monks at St. A's, but like yes, there are monks at St. A's, and yes, there's a religious aspect of the school, but the monks are also allowed to be their own people.
Yes.
Like if you have a kind of like New York City arts district type, but he's also a monk, and that's how I kind of describe Father Ian to people.
Yes.
He's very like kind of hip and modern in the art sense. And like
but he's also a very big gentleman.
Right,
he has,
exactly.
Like
it's very like, exactly. And that's like the duality of all these people on that campus, I think, is so cool.
Yes. They're all different
All of
and
them.
unique
All the
in
monks
their
are
own
like
ways.
that. I mean, Father Jerome, I mean, I did a lot with him, with the paper, for the school paper.
Like,
and
there's monks
things like that.
help coach the lacrosse team.
There was, exactly. Like, was that Father Benedict? Anyway, regardless, it doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter being, you had one was the registrar. Like, they all played different roles. It wasn't like they're all just out there teaching religion class, which, they obviously all could, like, they could all teach a New Testament class or something like that. Like, obviously they could teach, but like, you had like Father Jerome taught journalism classes. You had these other, had monks that were involved with music. That were like,
They also ran the school. You wouldn't know it, but they did.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite memories of a monk is during the admissions training. Mm-hmm. A lot of the females.
Qualified Pony was an admissions counselor
Yes.
and like or admissions tour guide.
Tour guide, yeah.
Whatever. Same. You might as well have said this kid's getting in, this kid isn't getting in. They loved you.
Yeah, they did. But I always want to know how many people I convinced to go to St. A's. They did keep track of that. How many people like came in and had this tour guide.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't tell us.
Oh, of course not.
But anyway, during our training, he was like, I just want you guys to know we do run the school. The board doesn't have the majority. The monks have the last say. We are not the cute old men that just read papers, as I've heard you all say from time to time again. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you right now. Like,
savage man. He didn't care.
No.
It's the truth, though. And that's, I think, a big thing at that place is that if the monks said, you know what, we're shutting this place down, we're closing our doors tomorrow, they can.
Yeah.
It's their land, it's their building.
They
were just gracious enough. Again, the whole reason for the school was to support the German immigrants coming over in the 1800s that worked in all the mills in Manchester.
They wanted those kids to have a quality higher education, and that's still their.
That's why I love, and like I have my own issues with organized religion and like the bigger overarching Catholic Church, but I value monastic life highly, and like. That style of religion I value incredibly because you know what? They're independent enough.
Yes.
But they still follow the doctrines and certain things. But the abbot can say, this is stupid. We're not doing this. Or like, this is a bigoted policy. We're not going to really prescribe to this because we're a welcoming place.
True,
Doesn't always happen, but...
Don't let them hear you say that because then they have to start falling back on their heels.
Well, but I think it needs to kind of be like that, though.
It does, yes.
And especially with the institution that you're doing, it's college.
Yes.
It's like if you and there are some places out there that are very conservative. Mm-hmm. Now, I wouldn't describe St. A's as overly conservative. I think there were some conservative elements to it.
Sure.
But I don't think that I would describe it as like Liberty University down or some of these places down south that are like, we only are Baptist here. You know what I'm talking about there.
And that was always a question. But from parents would be like, how Catholic is this school?
Like, yeah, right.
And that's I'm like, well,
it's as Catholic as you want it to be.
Yeah, and that was always a bad answer. But so I'd always have to follow it up. Right. I'm like, look, if you want to go to Mass, we have Mass. If you want to be part of campus ministry, you can do that.
Right.
But I have friends that don't go to Mass.
Yeah.
You do have to have one religion.
Prime example.
There's like one religion class that you had to take, but it didn't have to be the Catholic faith. It could have been world history with world religions.
Or like something in the Eastern traditions. There are other classes that existed in that regard too, I remember.
Yeah. So they never forced the Catholic faith on you, but they were always open to that conversation.
Of course. Yes. And I mean, like, naturally you're going to be.
Yes.
Whether you're a Jesuit, a Benedictine, or whatever, of course you're going to naturally want to have those conversations if you're part of that life. That's a huge... And like I said, it was really unique there. I don't know, did you ever get to go and have dinner with the monks at the monastery? That was cool. Yeah. I got to do that once as well. And they eat very well over there. And actually, interesting reason why the food... I can't speak to now. I know that they've changed...
They're going back.
Good. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that they opened things up and had for the first time had an outside caterer come in. But before, when we were at St. A's, all the food was handmade.
Yes.
More or less from scratch.
Yeah.
Like, the monks ate a certain way. They had personal, like, chefs. I mean, they had a personal chef for the monastery, basically. And that's how they wanted... If they eat like that, they want us to eat like that.
Yes.
So everything, for the majority of it, everything that they have, they also wanted us to more or less have access to as well. Which is really unique.
Which was a huge selling point.
Where else can you
school.
get that?
Yeah.
I can't. And again, that's why I went where I went.
And they were still top 8. They were top 5, then top 8 for best food for a college in this country by the time we graduated.
Yeah.
And then they had that catering company come in. They fell down quite a bit. I don't even know what they are right now, but that always blew my mind.
That was the big thing. We had the second best food in the country.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, baked goods, salads,
And the schools that beat us was
sandwiches.
UMass Amherst that had McDonald's, Papa Gino's, like all these chain
Yeah, they had
restaurants
chains inside of
within
it,
their
yeah.
school's cafeteria.
And I mean, that's Zoomass anyway. I mean, that's that.
But they're
you know.
number one with that. It's like, how can this be at the same level? We are hand making our food so that it can be somewhat healthy.
You got to
at
think
least.
about your clientele. I mean, but also you got to think about how much bigger UMass is versus St. A's. I mean, it's what St. A's.
Oh, I can tell you that right now.
Kids?
The UMass Boston just got, what is it, $20 million to reamp their campus.
No way.
And then the commissioner, I think at UMass Boston, spent $2 million to change our sign.
Wow.
Yeah, there's hidden problems at UMass Boston.
I'd say that there's
sorry, whoever watches from UMass Boston, but like.
Well, no, I mean that's anything though that there's corruption everywhere, buddy. Unfortunately, like, or whether not corruption, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's like, why'd that cost so much? It's like, man.
Well, that's the thing. The
Makes you
guy
wonder.
shouldn't have changed our logo because then he had to change all the signs, all the busing, everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he wanted to change the logo.
Because he wanted to rebrand. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he got in trouble by the head UMass commissioner. I forget his actual title because all the UMasses are supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
Same
like
logo,
the president
same everything.
of the system.
Yeah, he was like, "We gave you all this money. You spent $2 million to change the logo." Practically
misappropriation of funds or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's wild. When do you graduate from grad school? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But like, when's or no, your doctorate program rather?
I have no official end date.
Yep.
It's pretty much how does my research go.
Okay.
Because
all right.
I'm almost done with classes. I think I have one more, maybe 2 more semesters worth of classes I have to take.
Yep.
Officially. And then it comes down to a few tests I have to pass. And then research. They want you to have like 3 years of quality research.
Mhm.
They don't officially say 3 years, but it's practically they want you to have 3 years of official research where you can then pump out some papers. So that way when you come out with your
You're already
PhD,
published.
yeah, you have papers backing your name,
Yep.
showing that you have work done.
And you have experience in the field and all
Yes.
that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So like I'm getting my master's soon. I have my master's thesis that I'm almost done, ready to publish to the school. So I'll have my master's soon, and then hopefully 2 years after that, I can get my PhD.
Dr. Pony.
Yes.
I love that. I really do. But before, we'll get back into that in a second. So, Pony and I graduated from St. A's in 2019
Yep.
into unique circumstances. Me, as I've talked about many a time on here, take a shot every time I talk about the presidential campaign. But I went to go work for Weld, and Pony was a teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
That was really unique when,
Yeah.
we were two out of, or was it 3 out of the 4 that had jobs,
Mhm.
out after, school. And so that was unique in its own right. But yeah, you were a physics teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
How did that kind of come into play? Like, did you really see yourself going into education and
Not at all.
that early on? I mean, I know
Yeah.
once you have your bachelor's in a science, I mean, I know you were always planning on
They come
more
after
school,
you, though.
but yeah.
Yeah. So how it went really was I went to some of the career fairs at St. A's.
Yeah.
And I also like the office, the career office.
Oh,
at St.
career
A's.
services.
They
yeah,
recommend you put your resume on Indeed, obviously.
Yep.
So at the career fair, I'm walking around. A lot of the defense contracting companies didn't want any of the scientists. They were looking for business people. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm wasting my time,"
Yep.
which was sad to me. But then a school pulled me over, which was actually the school I ended up working for. And he was just chit-chatting with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Have you ever considered teaching?" And I'm like, "No, not really, to be honest." He's like, "All right, just keep an open mind." And then another school actually offered in the area to let me shadow one of their physics
Yeah,
teachers.
yeah.
And he's actually one of the best physics teachers in this country.
No way.
In Wyndham High School, yeah.
Oh,
he
yeah.
he
Yep,
has
yep.
won national awards
Yeah,
for
yep.
teaching. And I'm like, this guy's awesome. And I'm like, the way he was presenting the material was awesome. And I'm like, you know what? I can see myself doing this, really. Because I really didn't want to go to a defense contracting company because I didn't want to be building guns, to be honest.
I mean, that's the thing is, I'm sure, and we can get into this a little bit more later as a scientist, where what you create, it may come with the best intentions.
The United
But it
States
can
government
be-
will take it.
But them or somebody else,
Yes, yeah.
a world government will take it, and I know military funding drives a lot of research and
Yes.
development, and also leads to developments in healthcare and other areas. However, it's like, you know, and it's kind of like, I guess, in the first Iron, and we'll talk about, I know we're going to talk about Iron Man a little bit later too, but it's kind of like in the first Iron Man movie where Tony Stark comes to realize, holy shit, my bombs have been killing American people and innocent people, and my thing that I, you know, created to be something so good and a peaceful force is actually massacring millions of people. You know, it's like, oh shit. Well, that's like Oppenheimer. You know, I have become the destroyer of worlds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I understand, you know, the nuclear, and we'll talk about more nuclear stuff later too, I'm sure. But it's like, man, oh man, like to create something with so much potential, but that is also so destructive.
But that was the thing, like, especially like the nuclear aspect. It was first seen as an energy source.
Oh, of course.
But then World War II happened around the same exact time as all this study started happening.
In reality, you can blame the Nazis. You can.
Yeah.
I mean, they had no good intentions behind researching nukes.
No, not one bit.
It was all militaristic for them.
Yes.
Hitler was kind of tapped in that regard, like big on doomsday devices.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like History Channel After Dark type, you know, like. But like, no, seriously, like they were out there. I mean, like, I know we've got like our Area 51, and the United States is the United States, but like, man, oh man, I don't think we've ever had like such a public fixation on anything like that. It's crazy, man.
Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, right. But anyway, yeah, no, the physics area is what really, you know, kind of drew you to things. And so I guess, you know, kind of while we're talking about it, what really kind of drew you to the sciences and physics specifically? Because I know you did a lot with computer science too when you were at St. A's.
Yes. So for me, it was more, actually, I could thank my parents for this one, really. Yeah. I really thought I was a very dumb individual, especially comparing myself to my brothers because they always had higher grades. So I love my country. I wanted to serve my country, following my grandfather's footsteps, and my great uncle who passed away. They both served our country. And so I'm like, you know what? I can see myself serving. They can then pay for my college education.
Right.
I won't have, because I knew eventually I would have to have debt on my shoulders.
Yep, that's how it goes, unfortunately.
My parents did not support that one bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, so family's very important for me, so this is out. All right, let's maybe become a cop. And my parents were like, John, no one wants to be a cop nowadays. This was back in 2014.
I'm just saying they called it.
Yeah.
You know, like...
And then and my dad was like, John, why don't you want to go into engineering? You're very good with your hands. You're very interested in always learning. And I'm like, I don't think I'm smart enough for that. I would love to, but I don't think I'm smart.
Right.
And my dad just goes,
which isn't true.
Yeah,
you're
he's
a
like,
smart dude.
why don't you just try it? He's like, it doesn't hurt to try something in your freshman year. You can always change your major.
Yeah, of course.
So that's literally what I did. St. A's didn't have engineering, but I'm like, all right, I'll stay in physics because I loved physics in high school. I did well in it. I loved math. If I do well in my freshman physics course, I will switch to engineering. I did horrible in my freshman physics course, and I tell this actually to all my students to this day because I think this is a great opportunity for them to learn off of. I got a D+ in my freshman year physics course, my first semester. I was having nervous breakdowns almost every single weekend.
Wow.
But I called my parents. They were like, John, just go sit, get help from your professor. And he did. Dr. Schnick, if he's ever listening, thank you. Thank you. Because he literally would sit with me twice a week and go through physics problems so I can actually properly understand it, because that was actually a problem with high school education in the United States right now, at least what I can see, is that we teach you to memorize.
Yes, we teach regurgitation. Yeah,
physics, you can't memorize at all. You have to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Because physics professors are very smart. They're never going to give you the same problem twice.
No, of course not.
So unless you understand how you're able to think through this problem, because the problem can be similar but just masked in a different way. So unless you know how to think through this problem,
you understand the formulas and the actual substance of the question or the problem, you're going to be confused.
Yeah. And that was my problem. And then halfway through my sophomore year, it all clicked for me. And because in my freshman year, I had a D+, and then I went to a C-. Those were my first semester grades. My sophomore year, I got a B+ magically.
Yeah.
It was like out of nowhere.
no easy feat at St. A's either. Like,
yeah, but
they call it maybe St. A's, but they call it St. C's.
yes. Well, thankfully that's gone now too. We had because they realized that grade deflation was hurting all of their graduates, right?
No,
yeah.
it only destroyed my self-esteem. Yeah,
Same with me. I had a 2.7 graduating, and now at UMass Boston I have a 3.6.
Yeah, I'm also doing very well in my courses right now.
Yeah.
Safe to say, it's like, wow, I actually get A's and stuff.
Yeah,
This is cool. I got like 1 A in my time at St. A's, and like
I got an A minus.
It was in a history class. Like it was like, yeah, I got an A minus. I squeaked it out.
Yeah,
it was like, man, I had like it was like a 90. Coney did it differently. I had a 94 GPA in high school, and I was like, I thought I was smart.
Dude,
then I went to St. A's and got slapped.
Dude, literally, this computational physics course that I took.
Yeah,
I got a C+ in it. Granted, I thought my computer science degree or background would carry me because I was already a CS major by this time.
Right.
It wasn't because I wasn't understanding the physics equations that I was programmed. But one of my codes, so I gave all my codes to the kids below me because I was friend with them. I liked them.
Right.
I'm like, just warning, they're not the best. I got only a C+, so this gives you a starting point, something that I didn't have.
Right.
Just build upon it. One of my codes they didn't fix, and it ran so efficiently on his computer. He was like, I'm going to take this. He's like, this is going to be my code from now on that I show people. And I'm like, I only got a C+ in your course. What just happened here? I'm like, you're telling me, I was thinking, I'm like, please tell me they built more into this code, that they didn't actually just take it, because
they didn't just take it and run it.
Yeah, because then I would really be upset because I only got a C+.
Right? Yeah, no, that's well, that's like when you cheat off somebody on their test and they get a higher grade or something like that. You're like, what happened? I cheated. I mean,
Yeah, but that goes to show the grade deflation, because the previous year he got told by the school saying your course is too easy. Too many people got A's and B's. You need to make it harder, or we're not going to have you offer that course anymore.
I've heard a few professors mention that, and I don't think that's right.
No.
I mean, given I'm biased, I'm a student, but like at the same time, it's like, man, oh man, like you got to think about what that's doing to some of us who aren't all rocket scientists. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I mean, God forbid if you made it. I'm not saying made it easier, but if it was actually like achievable, maybe more.
Don't do grade deflation.
Yeah,
like you're coming out thinking, oh, I'm going to get a B+, and then all of a sudden you get a C.
Yeah, it's
C+. Like what just happened?
Yeah, or like at one time, yeah, it's crazy, like that type of stuff.
And that kills me with UMass Boston. These students that I teach now, they will complain if you don't give them an A. And I'm like, you didn't
deserve an A, Bob.
I deserved a B, and then I got a C+. Like what? And I didn't complain.
Shame.
Here,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Oh, I can tell you stories of them.
I'm sure you can. And so, I guess, would you see yourself, kind of circling back, would you see yourself teaching again as Professor Dr. Pony, in college, in a college setting? Or do you see yourself, more towards the research laboratory type stuff? Where do you...
I do want to try my hand in industry. That's always been the end goal for me when I was in undergrad, is to go work somewhere.
You're not trying to be strictly an academic. Yeah, I understand that.
But I could see myself coming back to it, but not in a public school setting. If I can go teach at a private school.
Yeah, or higher academia as well, yeah.
Yeah, because these students, at least at UMass Boston at times, can just... I don't know how much I want to say on a podcast, to be honest, but they're great. Every single student that's at that school, because it's a public school, they get additional money from the state and from federal funding.
Yeah.
So we are not allowed to fail students out. We have to pass them along.
Because you're a public university.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they fail out, we lose money. So that's why I don't want to be in I want to be in a private sector, because then I can actually grade you efficiently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's...
We had one student take a course 5.
You just have more autonomy over your program in your classroom, which is, I think, very vital. I think not being able to fail people does not teach anybody any life lessons. But we could have a whole side conversation about that. But so your current program track you had mentioned before, is that so you're almost done with your master's?
Yes.
And then you're going to be, or you're already kind of working on your doctorate program in part. Yeah. So that's really unique in a lot of ways. I'm sure that must be a lot at the same time, though.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. There's not much balance to being a grad student.
Oh,
and anyone will
I'm
tell
sure.
you that.
Yeah.
It's like you're just there to do work, and then if you can get sleep, fantastic, but you won't have a social
you
life.
You don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
if you want a social life, you're not getting sleep. Like that's the bottom line. You choose two.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And so I guess if when you first either set out into the world of physics or whatever, I know you said you want to try your hand in like industry, but like what would be like that dream physics job, or I mean if there is one, like
I mean,
what?
the dream is to own my own biomedical company, hopefully someday,
Okay.
and have people help me run it because I
Yeah.
just want to stick to the science. But
Yeah.
a slightly more realistic spot to go into it before I can potentially start my own company would be
Right.
to potentially work at like Boston Children's Hospital or Mass General Hospital because they get a lot of funding and they do a lot of research on the side.
Yeah.
So it's like I would like to go into one of those research
I mean,
facilities.
you have the best spot for that.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, you're in one of the best places in the country for anything biomedical related. I mean,
yep. And that was one of the main reasons why I was drawn to UMass Boston is because they have strong partnerships with Mass General Hospital because of their nursing program. They have a very good nursing program. Their pre-med program is actually pretty good as well.
mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? They have strong partnerships. They have a biomedical program there. Even though I'm not a part of that, we have physics professors that do biophysics work. And I'm like, all right, I'm drawn to this. And my GPA wasn't good enough, in my opinion, to go to Brandeis because Brandeis University is also a very big biophysics university.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I'll just apply to UMass Boston. They were the first school also to get rid of the GRE requirement because this was when COVID first hit.
Yep.
So a lot of the other schools still had the GRE program requirement, but I couldn't take it.
Right.
So UMass Boston got rid of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'll apply there. If they don't accept me because of my GPA, then I'll sit down for my GRE and then apply for grad school in a few years from now when I can actually take the test again. Well, back then it was more a couple months because we didn't expect COVID to last so long. But
no, we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not completely over that. To be completely honest with you, I was just literally before you showed up talking with my dad. Just
dude,
like,
I told my students, I'm like, we're gonna shut down for 2 weeks. We'll be fine. It's just like the flu. Because early studies were showing that COVID-19 it was exactly like the flu. It did not survive in warm temperature.
Right. Yep.
Or getting hit by this around springtime.
Yeah.
It should have faded away with the flu, but people weren't staying away from each other.
Yeah, we have a hard time. We're not very good at that, actually.
Yes.
We're not actually supposed to be isolated by ourselves, but for the sake of public health, I think that they should have shut the. And you can say this is very undemocratic of you, Mr. Dumont, but I honestly believe we should have shut the country down for a month or 2 weeks.
There are literally countries that don't have
everything
COVID
down.
because they did.
Yeah, and like shut the air travel down.
Yes.
Shut it down.
We literally had to shut it down for 2 weeks to 4 weeks. 4 weeks was max. If we shut everything down,
if we had shut everything down for a month, we would have been like New Zealand. We would have been, again, and like, it could have been handled so differently. And again, part of that was the last administration, and not to get into all that, but like, again, things were just fumbled. I mean, very poorly fumbled.
Big time.
And again, like, I feel unfortunately like this situation has left people, in a less educated place than they were before because they're questioning. I'm not that I'm saying it's not healthy to question and be skeptical, but like now we just like ignore medical science and ignore this and ignore that, and it's like
they're questioning the wrong things.
Yeah, exactly. You're not exactly.
They take on celebrities' words, and like I respect a few celebrities because they'll actually do research and bring in specific doctors.
But there's a very small few. Like,
that's the thing.
When you got like the leader of the free world over here telling people to take a UV light and shove it up their, rear end, it's like, what is wrong with you people?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, and you just look at all the scientists in the room. They literally wanted to put their face in their hands because of how embarrassed they were.
Dude.
Moments like that, dude, it's like I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. And it's like same thing with the climate and everything that's going on with the climate emergency. And it is an emergency. Something needs to be done about it. Or if not, get ready for flaming tornadoes. As I like to say, it's going to be real hard to recognize each other through our oxygen masks.
I'm going to Maine.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, but again, we can't, process all the smog for everybody. It's like
no, I know.
And it's like, oh, people say, oh, well, if we we're not the world's top polluter and blah 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 and this and that. It's like the third world countries won't do their part and China won't do their part. But we need to at least do our part, and we don't do that.
But that's the thing. Someone needs to start.
That's it.
If someone starts, then everyone will have to follow.
We claim to be this big shining example for the world, but we still don't care about clean air, clean drink. Like Flint, Michigan's still a thing.
Dude, did you hear about
clean air? And then on top of that, Pony, the fucking train in
yes,
Ohio.
Yes.
What the fuck is wrong? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say, what the fuck is wrong with people?
Yeah.
Why are you gonna burn a chemical off? I'm not a scientist, Pony, and I could have told you that was stupid.
Dude, the chemical.
I mean, all you fucking educated science people must go, what is wrong with you?
I barely saw that on my phone.
Sorry
in the
for the
news
freak
one
out,
day,
but like, oh my
and
God.
I'm like, how is this not a big a deal? This can't be real. I'm going to start doing some digging.
Yeah.
It turned out to be real, and I'm like,
yes.
where is this on the news? Why is this not a big deal? This is a horrible thing that just happened. The water in that area is screwed for years now, for generations probably.
Yeah.
Because chemicals are very hard to get out of soil.
Well, dude, up
water,
here you say come to Maine, but we have PFAS like a mother up here.
Yeah.
Forever chemicals.
Okay.
Because of all the agriculture. Oh yeah, no, it's in. I mean, and it's like, oh well, it's in you, and it's this, and you know, we don't know what it's just like. We've got to think about what we're putting into. I guess what I'm trying to get at is we got to think about what we're doing to the earth.
But that's the other thing. Like, I want to adapt European standards for food.
Thank you. Yep.
Because like
agree.
again,
we
I've done research on that
food
stuff.
Production.
Yeah.
Dude, like. Big beef is bad. I'm not saying stop eating beef. I'm saying localize where you get your beef.
Dude, I think there's like 3 main people that own the farms in the Midwest.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean, but like, if you think about all the big food, like Kraft, Nestle, and a couple other companies own like all the food.
Yeah.
Like the processed shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And it's
even
like,
the farms though. So the thing in the Midwest that happened was, these companies that would have the rights to certain seeds, they would just use their airplanes to seed fields.
Right.
If these seeds blew off course into privately owned farmlands, and the farmers grew those crops because it landed in their soil and then sold them, those companies actually ended up suing those farmers. No one knows about this. And so these farmers
I'll be honest with you,
eventually...
that's the first time I'm hearing of it too.
I started doing digging because someone told me about this. I'm like, this can't be real.
That's wicked.
And so some of these people actually lost their farms, and now most farms are just owned by like these 3 corporations. I forget the names.
Well,
of them
dude,
right
and then
now.
on the flip side, did you hear what? I can't remember which state it is out in the Midwest. Might be Idaho. Could be somewhere out in the Midwest or in starting to get towards the northern Pacific states. But China is trying to buy up big areas for their food. Basically, they think they're trying to spy. It might be in Colorado. It's close enough to NORAD, and it's close enough to one of our big communication centers for the military. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to set up a food processing plant or something, and it's basically going to be a listening post. They're going to try to tap into U.S. communications, and that's why I'm saying, like, everything that we do, we need to be so careful, and that's like TikTok. Like, we need to get rid of TikTok.
Dude, oh my God.
And I know there are going to be so many people.
It was killing the students' brains, first of all.
But, like, on top of that, what they're doing with your... Oh, I don't care. It's like, that's your personal information. They're creating profiles on you, and it's like, I'm not significant. Well... You are when you're buying their stuff. When
you have thousands and thousands of Americans using an app, you are pretty important because now they can get a demographic of what's going on. You're feeding them data.
You're feeding them data, which they love. They love analyzing us.
Yes. Any data analytics.
And I'm talking about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, they, not the people of China. The majority of people of China have no say in what goes on in their everyday life because they live under a fascist dictatorship. So.
Yeah, someone that, God, the grad student that I work with, he was telling me how there's this like Chinese version of Amazon.
Oh yeah,
the CEO was starting to talk bad against the Chinese government. He went missing for a month. He
disappeared.
He came back recently. He sold all of his shares. He gave away his company.
He's been, you know what they like doing in China, Pony? They like sending people away for re-education.
Yeah.
You go off and you get tortured and brainwashed. And the North Koreans love doing that too. There are a lot of... That's real big in a lot of those parts of the world. I mean, yeah, we torture people, but at least we're open about it.
I don't know if we're really open about it, to be honest.
We just send them down to Cuba, down to Guantanamo Bay. We're open about it. We just know that there's a spot, there's a hole in the ground.
Yeah, but we don't know what happens there.
Yeah, they lock terrorists in light rooms and they blast Barbie Girl and stuff, and they waterboard people. They've been caught, Pony. All you got to do is go look at some of the government committee stuff where they've had people testify. Oh yeah, it's crazy out there,
that's
man.
wild.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, dude, we could get into it. I mean, between that and prison experiments and everything else. Oh
my God,
it's a whole. You could have multitudes of podcast episodes on just that, and so. I guess kind of one of the things I want to kind of circle back to in the physics department, I know I said we'd talk about Iron Man, but like in terms of like any type of technology, whether it be like an arc reactor or any of that type of like stable power, like how far away are we from stuff like that?
So an arc reactor in a sense,
like, or like, I guess to scale back my question a little bit, what is like what are the principles behind that? Is there any like real science rooted in that, or is it all science fiction? I
mean, the one thing that I respect Marvel for is that they hire scientists to back their information that they go on, and the main
there you go.
Concept behind the arc reactor from the scientist's point of view of how Tony Stark makes it is actually a fusion reactor.
Okay. Now, so it's all based on nuclear energy.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So a fusion reactor, you can't shrink down to that size. It's just not possible.
It's not possible.
So you would have to look for alternatives. Fusion power even now is not fully, it's stable, but it's just, you don't have a major output.
It's not efficient.
Right now. Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yep.
So like an arc reactor itself, if we can find alternatives to maybe miniaturize, and I've always tossed this idea around in my head, but it's like someone could figure out how to miniaturize something out there.
Of course.
Like we already have mini solar panels powering a bunch of different things
there.
Oh yeah. But the main thing is like, do we really want to? Like,
I think some corporations don't want to, and I think those that like the oil companies don't want to.
Well, I meant more for like also the American government. Like, we have the tech right now to build an Iron Man suit. That's the thing.
Well,
but nothing to power it.
Right. But they're heavy, and you just be. And if the battery shut, and the part of the problem is the batteries and stuff to power these things are just as heavy as, and it just the weight it's kind of like when they were building the first airplane.
Yeah.
You need something that's lighter than air, but heavier, but it's always going to be heavier than air.
But that's not the thing. It doesn't need to be lighter. But
what I'm saying is you have a problem of size and weight.
Yes, the ratio aspect here. Yes, but like they already have a certain aspect ratio that they can build off of with with NASA's unmanned rockets that they send. They can do. So I was actually looking into it. Like they already had a hydrogen-based propulsion system that they use in their rockets when they're out in space.
Right.
You could use that in an Iron Man suit. We already have the metal ratio aspect to make it bulletproof easily.
Right.
That's been a thing for years.
Yeah.
The thing that they need, one, is like the way Iron Man flies just isn't logical. But
like with the hand propulsion and everything like that. Yeah.
It's like he would need wings so that he could actually achieve flight and be efficient. But it's like the second thing is it's the arc reactor. The thing that powers that suit.
That's the most vital component, frankly.
It's like we can't just smack batteries on that thing because, like you said, it's heavy. If it's batteries and it dies, then the dude inside is messed up.
You're screwed. Yeah. It's like the first tanks they made. They put a tractor engine directly in the tank, and the English tanks would be going across the battlefield, and then they'd just stop. And they'd open up the tank, and everybody inside would be dead because they suffocated from the gas, from the fumes from the tractor engine. It's like, they didn't think to have an exhaust piped out the back until the Second World War. Yeah, it took them a few years.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Pony. There are disaster stories of some of the first tanks used in war, and I get same thing with like some of these. I know that I've seen like people try to make these like mech suits or whatever or Iron Man suits or whatever you want to call them, and they literally just turn into big clunky suits of armor basically.
Yeah, and that's all it's going to be.
Yep.
So it's like the main thing that's cool with Iron Man is just the actual arc reactor idea, the idea of being able to miniaturize an energy source that you could put in someone's house and they don't have to worry about energy anymore. And that kind of goes back to...
Too many people lose money at that point, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that goes back to, what was his name?
Tesla.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
He's an interesting dude, too. I mean, like, if he had his way, everybody would have free power and, like...
Yes.
And I mean, frankly, like, and we're even getting into the point where you could argue, like, Wi-Fi, not just Wi-Fi, but internet is considered, like, a basic human good now.
Yes.
Because, like, in, like, a developed country, you have a very difficult time existing if you don't have access to the internet.
Yes.
Like, if you're in school and you don't have internet, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Literally.
Like, I don't know how students with that. Well, I mean, I know how they do it. The school gives them a hotspot. So they can, like, that's what with COVID, they were handing those things out like hotcakes.
Yeah. There's a week that Comcast knocked down everyone's Wi-Fi in the Boston area. No one knew about it, first of all. And then some of my students, like a lot of my students that, like enough where it's no longer a coincidence where people are just making things up. They're saying, my Wi-Fi was out. I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't get the work done. My laptop wasn't up. I couldn't submit it. Because Word now is all online. You don't download the app anymore.
No,
I did. No. I still have it, but most of the time it's a web-based service now.
Yeah.
A lot of things are web-based services, so it's like if your internet goes out, you don't have access to any of your stuff.
No.
Anymore.
No.
So like that's the problem with my students. They're like, my internet went down. I couldn't work on it. I'm like, I'm sorry. Can I get an extension? I'm like, sure. I'm like, first of all, the first thing that told me this, I'm like, if you're saying that your internet went down, you're kind of desperate. And I'm like, fine, I'll give you an extension. I'm fine with it.
Right.
And then so many people start telling me that. I'm like, I need to go tell my boss because this is now a problem that he needs to be able to address because it's probably not just my students.
It's probably not. Yeah, right. And I'm sure he's getting emails saying, "Oh, hey."
Yeah. So I told him, he was like, "Thank you for letting me know. I'll figure this one out.
Yep.
I'll send out an email and like have people start coming to me." And I'm like, "All right, sounds good."
Yep. Hey, I mean, sometimes you just got to do that because with everything going on, it's just it's just kind of interesting because. Like I said, if we had a solar flare or anything, like, we'd be so screwed.
Oh, my God.
We'd be so, as a society, I mean, I'd be fine, personally, but, like, we'd be screwed as a society. We don't even need a solar flare.
We just need an EMP.
Yeah, right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Above the United States.
Yeah, our grid is so, and again, this kind of goes back to being, well, in my field now as an electrician. The grid is a fragile little child.
Yeah. Our houses are not EMP proof. There's only... The White House is and the Pentagon is, if I remember correctly, they will survive an EMP, and they can continue with
and NORAD, which is in a mountain.
Yeah,
I'm sure. And like there are certain other places that are EMP proof, but yeah,
if they're EMP proof, but now our national defenses are not. It's going to be a while before we can get communications to them, and then if there was an invasion, let's say, we'd be screwed.
And that's the thing. Like, and I've actually talked with some military officials and stuff at different times, and watched some, done some own research, and they say the next war. I mean, assuming it's not whatever's going on in our back window with China and Russia right now, but the next, for real supremacy. We're going to have satellites taking out other satellites. Yeah. Like, to the fact that you're going to have basically, like, it's going to be kind of like hockey up in space. Yeah, you're going to have basically, like, these, you're going to have satellites that do their jobs and are all, like, sleek and moving around and spying on people and sending and receiving information as they do and geolocating. But you're also going to have satellites that are literally bruisers, that are literally, like, destructo bots that go around and fuck up other satellites, for lack of a better term.
And then we're just going to mess up our atmosphere even more because we have a junk layer. I don't know if people actually know that, of just old satellites that we just released to go into the universe, but they're not actually leaving because they're trapped in our gravitational field. Yeah. So it's just a layer of just old satellites that's just slowly expanding, but not enough where it's like, it's still a problem. Like, NASA has to, like, I'm sure they do calculations to avoid satellites.
Oh, I'm sure you have to.
Yeah. Which is so messed up.
Some of the smartest people in the world working there. So, I mean, like, I'm sure they do, but at the same time, it's like...
We couldn't have figured out how to get them back down to the Earth, though, at some point in time. We can't figure that out, because that is now a ton of resources, natural resources, that we can come back down, potentially, and then salvage some of it.
Well, and that was the other thing they were saying, is that space superiority, because eventually, as we know, we are going to run out of resources on the planet. Like, they're talking about, like, stuff for, like, cell phones and all, like, those fine precious metals and stuff, like, that are in asteroids and are in other places and are on the moon and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're found in other places in our solar system.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't even need to go that far. Man. Well, that's interesting, because I guess so. The major problem with the Iron Man suit or any of that technology that we see in, like, a lot of science fiction is miniaturization and the size ratio problem. Basically.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't realize it was that, and it's cool that, like I said, Marvel roots a lot of their stuff, like, in in science. And I guess another question for you while we're talking about space, and this is something that's always really, they say space, to quote Star Trek, is the final frontier. And I mean, to be cliche and kind of cheesy, I guess, but like, how far away are we from, like, I know we can break the sound barrier, but like, I'm not saying we need to break the the light speed barrier or anything, but how far are we from like advanced travel?
I have no idea.
No, okay. I didn't know if that was something that came across your radar or not.
Not like, for me, because it goes over my head how complicated it is, and I'm like, I cannot physically think about this. I don't blame you. I can't either. So that's why I'm asking because, like, if we want to travel at light speed, we would need to be able to redistribute our mass. Because photons...
That's like That's basically like teleportation, really, at that point then.
So, because like photons, we say they have fake mass. When they're at rest, which is it's impossible to get them at rest.
Because they're always moving.
They have mass, yeah. But when they're traveling at light speed, they don't have mass. So that's why a photon, that's where relativistic mass came from.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of trippy. So we would need to have our own molecules have relativistic mass. And I just don't think that's possible.
Yeah, no, that's well, basically, in layman's terms, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to disassemble something in one spot and then reassemble the same molecules in another location at high speeds.
Yes,
and we can't even teleport Dolly the sheep or clone Dolly the sheep. So probably, if we tried that, we'd end up. If, like, say you and I were in a spaceship together, I'd probably get some pony molecules, and you'd get some Ryan Dew molecules in you. That's not good. I don't want that. No offense, buddy, but like, I'm good there. I'm gonna pass. All right, that's good to know. We'll see. Like, again, but like, you just gave me some very clear insight into that, and like, that's why I love talking to you.
Yeah. I mean, we could still do high speed travel at some sport, but then it comes down to energy.
Yes.
Again.
Well, I think even I'd like to see, and I mean, maybe you know a little bit more about this. I don't know. This is like the Concorde jets that you could fly from New York to London in 3 hours.
Yes, yeah.
Supersonic jets, basically. That'd be kind of cool to see, like, mass commercial. But
they have special pilots that have gone years of training.
Is it that specialized? Yeah.
Because our bodies naturally are not that good to
we have to wear
tolerance.
The suits and everything to do that. Yeah.
So those pilots go through G-force training, and that actually takes like 10 years off their lives.
No shit, really.
G-force training.
You dedicate a decade of your life to
potentially, yeah.
Wow.
It's more research that's starting to come out now. It's like people that fighter pilots that are used to G-force, they age so rapidly.
Interesting.
Because of the stress of that movement on their bones. And even down just to their cells, really
interesting.
Get so much stress that they age quicker. And the biggest thing was a woman astronaut. She was like 30 years old. She looked like she was 50.
No way.
At least.
That's crazy. I didn't. From going in and out of the atmosphere and everything like that. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like we would have to develop suits or something to neglect that G-force that you have.
Whether it be like a special pressurized cabin or whatever the...
Yeah.
That's interesting. Again, like that's just something that you don't know until you know, frankly. And so, I guess what other areas, while we're kind of in the, the realm of science fiction, what other areas of like, whether it be, Marvel stuff or Star Wars stuff or whatever, like that's rooted in science kind of interests you, I guess. If you had to like pick something that you were going to try to work on, and say, you know what, if I was going to pick this from science, it's rooted in science, maybe it's attainable in the next, by the time we're like in our 50s or 60s, we have we find another alien craft out in the desert and we find fiber optics in advance, 50 years in 2 months,
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I don't fully know. Marvel does have a huge grasp on my life when it comes to science fiction, because I just love those movies and how realistic
they're great.
They come to. To be honest, I really don't know, because anything medical that you see in those science fiction movies kind of ends with an apocalypse happening.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair.
And then when we see AI tech stuff, that ends in with robots, which I'm still convinced that is a very large possibility happening with AI.
Dude, well, like the Facebook AI they created, they had to shut it down because it started creating its own language.
Yeah.
They do not want us to be in charge. They want to take over. You kidding me?
So like to me, it's like, okay, AI can be cool, but
I mean, like, I'm against AI art and the whole, nine there,
oh,
because
dude,
robs
that app.
it robs from real artists.
Yes.
It's terrible.
I was saw on Instagram this really cool photo. I'm like,
Yeah.
how is this real? This is sick. And then under the hashtag was AI generated. I'm like, this is
That's
ridiculous.
why, because it's the computers.
Yeah.
The program.
So it's like, if we can, to me, it's more just energy that like fascinates me. Like
I'm with you there.
With that type of science fiction thing, because it's like we don't have the corruption that goes behind it, and if they did, then they were able to fight that corruption, be like, you cannot touch me now. I am now that new corruption. This is my thing that's going to help change this world, which was like Tony Stark's thing.
Yeah,
he was so powerful, where he literally, in the Iron Man 2, the United States government wanted his Iron Man suit, and he was like, this is my property, you cannot have it.
It's private property, not for sale,
And it's like, in hindsight, if the United States government wanted to go up against Tony Stark in that movie, he would have won, most likely, like, because that suit was indestructible. They shot a tank at it in the first
that was sick. I love that scene. It's like, he's just like flying along, and he just gets slapped by a tank. He's like, damn.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is so unrealistic. If he fell from that height, forget about getting shot by a tank.
Yeah, no. Let alone that big old round that just would have rocked you like a hurricane. Yeah, no. Oh my god.
And he gets up like it's nothing, no concussion, no
I mean,
nothing.
Again, like, that's why we throw the word fiction around, you know, because that's the stuff that I think keeps people like you hungry for the next project, or hungry for the next invention or the next discovery, because it's like, there is the unattainable out there, but it can become the attainable.
Yeah.
I think that's the ultimate thing with science, and I'm not a scientist, but
literally, I talked to one of my physics professors. I'm like, because he's very big into energy and condensed matter research, and I'm like, the Iron Man thing was always interesting to me, but I know that's not really possible. And he's like, yet. He was like,
you're like, what?
He was like, yes, to a true scientist, we never say it's not possible. It's not possible yet. And I'm like,
I like that. I like you. You're good.
Yeah. And then he went on sabbatical, and I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'll come back to you. Don't you worry. I'll take another class with you.
We're gonna circle back to this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
good.
he had an excellent point on that. It's like, if everyone thinks it's like, oh, this is not possible, I can't do this, it's like, things won't progress.
No,
like,
we're gonna stagnate eventually. Yeah.
And that's why, like, my research, that I love it so much right now, is like, we are doing alternatives to antibiotics. We're looking into, because antibiotics right now, because people don't know how to take them properly, are becoming less and less effective.
Yep. And the bacteria is finding out ways to beat the antibiotics. Aren't there only a few really left that we have that are foolproof and stopping the big baddies?
To be honest, I'm not even 100% sure, because I don't know the actual medication right now for antibiotics, but it's more, they know how, because my this class that I'm taking right now, which is pretty interesting, they know how to mutate their own shells so that they can release their shells, so that antibiotics are attacking the shell instead. And then the bacteria can then continue on to affect things.
Interesting.
And so, like, they are mutating in such a way that they have their own defenses now against antibiotics. And when the antibiotics is not working, is because now these bacteria are in their own colonies, which create this, like, mucus that antibiotics cannot penetrate. So a lot of physicists.
So really, the bacteria's evolved.
Yes.
Essentially.
Well, that's always been the thing.
Is that? I mean, this might be a kind of a loaded question or a weird question, but, like, is that just like how nature? I mean, lack of a better term, how nature works.
Yeah.
Really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, and that's why I had a great moment in a class. Actually, it was like the Christian idea or something like that. It was like Christian. Okay. I can't remember, but Professor Malone, I think was his name. He was great. He was honestly great, and he had us read some C.S. Lewis, because he was obviously wrote all the Narnia books and that stuff, but also was very much a learned guy and had a lot of thoughts, and talked about how, like, nature, at the end of the day, like, humans will do what they want, but nature wins at the end of the day. Like, we can build cities and they'll send tidal waves. We can build airplanes and they'll send turbulence. Like, whatever it is, like,
nature's unpredictable.
As much as we think we've tamed nature, we haven't.
Yeah. Nature's unpredictable. Literally, an asteroid can hit the Earth
right.
at any point in time.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah,
would
that's
get
the
hit.
dinosaurs, right? Yeah.
Well, not even that. The Ice Age.
Right.
It got hit by an Ice Age because an asteroid hit us.
Right.
An Ice Age is not possible unless something like massive happens to the
big
Earth.
catastrophic type
Yes,
event.
thank you.
Yeah, and of course.
So it's like, all right, yeah, now the asteroid hits us that we are not prepared for. We're all screwed. An Ice Age can happen.
Yeah.
Nature's unpredictable, hence COVID.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to have alternatives.
Or China's unpredictable. But no, sorry.
But anyway, that's not like neither here. Yeah.
Anywho, sorry, buddy.
It's unpredictable at
it
times,
is.
and like we need to try and be prepared for it and have some
you try to have as
situational
many
awareness.
contingencies. Yeah, right. Hey, you don't have to have a contingency plan for everything, but have that situational awareness.
Yes.
And I think that's what separates the men from the boys in terms of leadership, or the women from the girls too, or the the turtles from the whatever. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I agree with you though. You can have as many contingency plans as you want, but at least having a healthy amount of mindfulness, perhaps. I think is really what makes the difference.
Being able to listen.
Yeah.
To
No, exactly. The ability to listen is important, But also, what else is important is the ability to document things. And actually, that's kind of what you've been doing in a certain aspect more recently in one of your hobbies, I guess we'll call it for now. But definitely a passion of yours, I guess, kind of getting away from the sciences. Pony's also a bit of I guess you could say an artiste in a certain way, too, because he's a photographer. And actually has a page out, and I'll let him explain all that. But, what really got you interested in photography to begin with, buddy?
So, I don't know where the interest really came from. Our friend, James Salas, when he wanted to propose, my dad had a camera. My dad had decent camera gear. He liked film, but digital he never really got the grasp of. But anyway, he had a nice digital camera. So I'm like, Jimmy, I'm down to come up and take pictures because I had a little Nikon camera I took pictures with. I was pretty comfortable with photography, but I'm never really into it. So he's like, all right, man, that would be actually fantastic if you don't mind. So I did that. I took out my dad's camera, really started learning it because he was okay with me using his camera.
Right.
And I just started liking that because the morning of, I went down to Riverside, not Riverside, to the ocean, just sitting on the rocks. I was actually using it to take pictures of some ducks nearby and just enjoying my day when I went down to the botanical gardens in Booth Bay.
Oh, those are tremendous, aren't they?
Yeah, I was just taking
spot.
some pictures of the flowers, getting ready for Jimmy to show up. Shocker, he was late.
Them? Late?
Yeah.
No, those guys? No
but
way.
yeah, it was just fun. And then I continued with it, but I realized my dad's camera was only 12 megapixels. It wasn't really the best.
Right.
So,
but it was a good starting point, right? Yeah.
So I bought my own camera body and still used his lenses for a little while because my dad, being the photographer that he was with film, he was like, John, the camera body doesn't fully matter. It's the lenses, it's the glass.
Right.
So he's like, use my kit lenses for now. As you save up some money, buy some real lenses. And that's what I've been doing. And the reason why I kind of stuck with it and kept it going more from just being an ADHD moment in my life is because it slowed me down. Physics,
That's
we
important,
talked about, it's high stress for me.
Yep.
I don't have a social life that much anymore. I'm just constantly going. I'm like, what's the next thing? All right, I got this class. All right, now I got to take this one. I got this research. I got to figure out this problem. And I'm like, I need to slow down. I want to be able to go back out into nature and enjoy it. And that's kind of what photography is doing. It gave me a new challenge that didn't need to be completed the next day.
Right.
I was able to relearn something. Yeah. And then what's cool is that now I'm starting to see the world that I was originally fascinated with, but lost some of that fascination through school. I'm becoming fascinated with it again, which is cool for my field because I'm seeing light in a slightly different way. I'm seeing situations slightly different now.
Angles, lighting.
Yes.
You see the world, and I not to be cliche, you see the world through your lens.
Yes.
And I think that creates, and again, I've dabbled with videography and all that stuff I've dabbled with. And I take a photo from time to time, but dude, you've got it, dude. Like I said, some of those still shots of nature you've taken, I think you should do more people photography. People are hard to shoot, though.
Yeah.
People are very hard to shoot.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to. That's why I use Jimmy and Christina a lot, and because or even when we're just with our friends, I always have my camera with me.
I mean, like his bachelor party. I mean, you had some great photos of that, and I'm glad you brought a camera. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, the cell phone comes in handy when but it's nice to have a decent photo taken on a decent camera. It does make a difference, It's like one of those finer things, I think that. Yeah.
If you can have it with you, it's a great thing. And if people want a better camera that's not their cell phone, a little compact camera, point and shoot, they're calling it now, they're not bad either, because it can get you from, what is it, like 24 to even some of them has 105 millimeter. That's my focal range right now.
Yeah.
With my lenses, I have a 24 to 55 millimeter. And then my longest one that I have is a 100 millimeter prime lens, which I absolutely love that.
Right.
Like there's the other ones that go out to like 600 millimeters, and that's if you want to do like wildlife photography, which I'm not there yet.
Right, that's like where you're laying in a field, like waiting for something to move
for like 3 hours, and you just draw $3 grand on this lens.
Some of those guys like get those shots for like, what is it, National Geographic or whatever. Like you hear the stories, they're like, yeah, I laid in the African Sahara for hours, and like these birds landed on me, and then like finally the lions came by or something like that, and it was like, wow.
This one dude was doing like bird photography. He was out there for days, and he was stalking this area with bird food specifically for this bird until it finally came up, and he won a National Geographic like magazine photo contest for it, and it was in that magazine for a while. But having that dedication to lay out in this field for days,
easily,
just for this one bird,
right?
Like I don't have that. I like being able to like do landscape photography. I would love to do more portrait photography. I'm just kind of building that skill up slowly. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess where can people find your stuff?
So right now I only have one Instagram page. It's called Ponies Pics.
Right on.
So yeah,
we'll have all that linked in the description for the episode too.
But even Instagram has been, a lot of photographers have been complaining about it because of their aspect ratio that I have. It's like a 1-to-1 screen size that you have. Quite a bit.
You are limited.
So it's always like compressed. So I am trying to look into other like options. Would it be like Etsy or have my own website eventually, just so people can actually see like my actual full photos. But again, that's something that's going to come a little bit later after I build up my own skills a little bit.
Of course. But that makes sense. And I mean, I know you said you're building up your skills. You're not for hire? Are you for hire yet?
Not yet. I'm down to like, if people want to do a photo shoot with me, if they reach out to me, I'm definitely down.
All right.
Because that can build my own skills.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. So I guess if anybody's interested in hiring Pony, feel free to direct message him via the Ponies Pics Instagram page. Right on. Like I said, we'll have all that linked in the description of this episode. And so, how much editing goes into your process? I know that editing is a huge side. It's the huge opposite side of photography. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's certain types of photographers that use like old school Kodachrome film and everything like that. That have like I think some of that stuff is incredible. By the way, some of the landscape photography they do with like those single print, like the ones that they snap the photo and it's the single. Piece there.
So like their film process to actually blow up a film so that it's actually the size of like a modern day poster is incredibly difficult. And those photographers that still have that skill, I'm pretty jealous about.
It's incredible. Like, I know you do more digital stuff, but it's like, but like how much goes into your process?
So for like the actual editing, I stick to doing it on an iPad, which it doesn't give me the full range of a professional photographer that they would do on a MacBook.
Right.
But it's still quite a bit, because no photo to a photographer's mind will be perfect. They want to either rebalance the whites that are in it or take out some of the highlights, because if you don't have like let's say a polarizer with you that day, you're going to have a lot of glare in that photo, and you don't want that. And every photographer has a different aspect or this mind, or not mind, but this way of they look at this photo, and this is the way that they remember the situation. So it's like, that's what I try to adapt. And most of my, even though I don't feel like I have my own style just yet, because I do mostly how I remember the situation. So it's like, I remember these reds being very vibrant or something like that. It's kind of what I try to match, just bring out the colors that I remember there, what I was feeling. So it's like, when we were doing the bachelor party, I gave a lot of the photos a warm tone because it was just a great situation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
or
That's
if I was in the
interesting.
woods and it's foggy, I'm like, oh, this could be a sick horror movie film. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
make
yeah.
everything darker, give
Yep.
it a little bit more blue,
Yep.
just to bring out some spookiness into
Yep.
this.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's excellent. That's really that's unique too. It's like I said, I've dabbled in photography, but you've really like made it a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special when you make something like a thing, whether it be your thing or somebody else's. It's not really relevant, but it's the fact being is that like you've taken that, and I think that's really unique because, like I said, I mean, like you've heard this quote a million times. Life moves pretty fast.
Yes.
If you don't,
Yes.
take a second, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like that's been the biggest thing since we've been out of school. I felt when we were in college, to be honest with you, life moved a lot slower.
Oh my God.
It moved fast, but it moved slow. And now I think life is just a million miles ahead at this
I think
point.
COVID also messed us up because we all had
Dude,
to isolate, so we
yep.
couldn't see each other
Yeah,
anymore.
I agree. I agree. And I said, like I said, as I said, I'm still not over it.
Yeah, I blinked and 2 years were gone.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
2 years
dude,
without my friends, and I'm like, what just
I
happened?
was 23 and then I was 26.
Yes. Yeah. We went from seeing each other every single day. Even when we graduated, we
Yeah.
got together almost
Oh
every
yeah.
other weekend.
Oh yeah. I mean, you and I still
And then-
lived in the same state even after graduation.
Yeah.
We were both still in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It was just it was real interesting. This whole thing.
And then we all learned golf.
Yeah.
Just so we could hang out
I
with
am
each
going to be
other.
playing more now that my elbow's better. I will definitely
Heck
be playing
yeah.
more golf this year. Well, I mean, after I did what I did on that last hole when we were playing, dude, I felt so good. Like I was like, all right, that's what I needed. My confidence is up there now.
Yep.
Oh man, like I said, there's some really. I got to have you guys come up this summer because there are some really tremendous
Dude, I
golf courses
passed
up
so
here.
many golf courses.
You
that I
do,
know
dude, you
here.
do, and like honestly, like those are good, but some of the best, and people will disagree, but some of the best golf in the state of Maine is in Central Maine, believe it or not.
Okay.
Other than like there's Sugarloaf and Sunday River.
I'll take your word
and
for
some
it,
of
man.
these, but like Belgrade Lakes Country Club is like one of the best courses in like the country, I guess, or something like that. Or
Give me a golf
or
course
in
with
Maine.
beautiful greens with not many people. I'm going to have a day.
Yeah, I mean, and also just like outside of Augusta in Vassalboro is Natanis, where my dad
Okay.
plays, and I mean they've got two really great courses. The organization I'm on the board for, CARA, Capital Area Recreation Association. We have our golf
Okay.
tournament out there. I should have you guys come up and play in that with either with my dad or maybe we'll have a team or something.
Sure.
That'd be a
I'm
good
down.
time.
I'm down.
Honestly, you guys would carry me, but that's okay.
Hey, I play tournaments with my older brother who's a scratch golfer. He
Yeah.
carries us.
Yeah.
Like someone
there's
needs to
always-
carry someone.
Right? There's
yeah.
always a bigger fish. There's always someone to carry
Yeah.
carry you on your way. But any shout outs, buddy? Any words you want to give to anybody before we wrap this up?
Go St. A's. I don't
Right
know.
on, right on. Good, great
I got nothing.
Pony, you know what? It's a great day to be a hawk.
Yeah. Hired Dumont for his weddings.
Yeah,
for
also that.
DJing.
I'm doing weddings. Yeah, I appreciate that shout out, buddy. Yeah. And maybe I'll be dragging you along someday to do some photography with me.
Yep.
But in the meantime, it's just me. Yeah, I am doing weddings. And, if you need a wedding done, I'm pretty fairly priced and everything like that. So feel free to
yeah.
shoot me a message either on the podcast page or my personal page. And, I already have 4 within the next year, including into
Nice,
2024.
nice.
I'm
Congratulations.
already booking into 2024. So yeah, it's exciting,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy it. After, like I said, doing Jimmy's, man, I had such a great time, and
Dude,
people are like,
Jimmy's
"You've
was so
done
much
this before,
fun,
right?" And I'm
too.
like, "I never did this before. What are you talking about?" Like they're like, "Oh, we thought you did." I'm like, "No."
We were all partying, golfing, and Ryan's over there setting up for that wedding.
Yeah, dude, you guys are
FYI.
all the whole the groom's party there.
Then
is,
he comes up to us and it's like, "Why aren't we leaving yet, guys? So what's going on?" And then we're like, "Oh yeah, we're heading back right now." It's like,
yeah,
cool.
I literally like took a golf cart. I looked at the guy outside, like the little caddy boy. I'm like, I'm taking this, and he's just like, okay, because he saw me setting up, and like
Yeah.
I pulled in and parked where I wasn't supposed to park, and they didn't say anything, and like they were real great
Dude,
over
they
there.
loved Jimmy. all of
Stonebridge,
us,
is
yeah.
Stonebridge Country Club,
Yeah, I think so.
something like
yeah.
that. They're great. Honestly, if you're in New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire, Central New Hampshire, and you need a good venue, they're great.
Yeah.
Good golf course too, for the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
Frankly too. But appreciate you coming up, buddy.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
been
for having
great,
me.
and thank you all of you for tuning in this week. I know it's been a little bit of a delay between episodes, but if everything went to plan, hopefully you're also able to see us on YouTube this
Yep.
time. Finally implemented video. Might be a little rocky here at the start. Like I said, I'm a one-man crew, so we do what we can, you know, and so if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Everything's a process, and we're always trying to improve and get better. So that being said, thank you, Pony, like I said, for coming on. Thank you all of you for tuning in, as I just said. And be sure to tune in over the next few weeks, guys. I'm not 100% sure quite yet if we're going to be getting, you know, what we're going to be getting for the rest of the if we're getting another episode in 2 weeks, or like I said, it's just been real busy. I actually, before you came up, dude, I've been sick. I've been so sick. I've just been so tired, and like I got school going on. I got a lot going on right now. So we'll have a new episode here pretty soon. Like I said, just look to the good old DuView social media pages for updates. Like I said, like I did say back over the year, once we have video, it might be a once a month format changing. So be prepared for that if that does happen. So still same quality of content and everything like that, guys. Just busy dudes. So still want to give you guys, like I said, the best content we can. Follow DuView 207 to keep up to date on Instagram, the DuView Podcast, everywhere else. Follow on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, thumbs up on YouTube, all that type of stuff helps us get the word out. That's the big thing, guys. Trying to get as many people to know about the DuView Podcast this year.
Nice.
Across New England, you know. Yep. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Pony, again, one last time. Thanks, buddy. Much love, and just shout out to, you know, all my guests that have come on. Appreciate everybody, and it's been a good ride so far. So keep on keeping on, guys. Keep tuning into the DuView Podcast, and, you know, keep spreading the good word, because we're out here, and, you know, we're trying to give you guys the best of Maine life, as well as some music adventures and general shenanigans. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a good week.